Las Vegas was meant to be a big moment for the NRL, but what did it actually look like on the ground? Today, we go behind the scenes and have a look at what really happened when the NRL takes its biggest show overseas. What worked, what didn't, and what it's like to be at the biggest rugby league party on this planet.
And now it's time.
It's time!
It's time for
Moneyball.
Moneyball.
Are you familiar with the story of Moneyball?
Welcome to the show, and as we get underway, I thought it'd be great to talk to somebody who was in Vegas and who can take us through it minute by minute. Lincoln Ison is a content creator and founder at The Knighted. He is the #1 Newcastle Knights fan. He's streaming, podcasting, and posting content across all your channels. And he did it in a big way in Las Vegas, taking tens of thousands of Newcastle Knights fans and rugby league fans along for the journey with him, filming, interviewing, and collaborating with content creators, former players, and rugby league fans there in Las Vegas, building an audience around one of the biggest events in the NRL and Australian sport. Lincoln, welcome to the show. And have you recovered yet?
Mate, I'm on the latter parts. I'm about, I reckon, 95%. There's still about 5% of Vegas still in me. But, oh my Lord. Nothing prepares you, Scotty. You can watch all the TikTok videos, all the YouTube vlogs you want. Until you're in the belly of the beast, mate, oh my Lord, it just chews you up and spits you out.
Well, mate, we saw so much of your content across all the channels over the course of Vegas and that NRL launch with the Knights and the Cowboys and the Dragons and the Bulldogs. How was the experience? I know you've said that it was one of the best experiences of your life. Tell us, what made the week so special?
Oh, mate, and it just seems, honestly, Scotty, the perfect place for rugby league. It's just the vibe of the place. I know the closest possible thing you probably think of is Magic Round, but even then, like they're very similar, but very dissimilar in so many ways. It's just the party atmosphere. Everyone's, frothing for some rugby league football. It's the start of the season. Everyone's on a high. They've put their season behind them. And it's just party central. Like mate, it's honestly a marriage made in heaven. Like I was one, I didn't know whether this would be a long-term thing that would really take off, but till you get there and experience it, you're like, no, this makes sense. The locals are getting around it. That was like something I was really, really taken by. It's certainly making inroads there. They've nailed this, mate. Truly, it is such a great experience.
You had a few videos, didn't you, of some taxi drivers and some, barmaids and stuff telling you which teams they were supporting, which I thought was like pretty crazy that they're starting to get to know what rugby league is. And that's part of growing this event for the NRL in future years, for sure. And of course, the start to the Knights season, it went well, and we'll come to that. But talk to me a little bit about Fremont Street, because when you think about Vegas and the experience that the NRL is creating for English and Australian and Kiwi rugby league fans to go to Vegas, yes, the games and yes, Allegiant Stadium, but there's this whole precinct and a bunch of events happening around the game and in the lead up to the week. Tell us about Fremont Street. What was that like to experience in person?
Oh, mate, I completely and utterly underestimated how awesome that was going to be. I knew it was going to be obviously one of the big spectacles of the week, but tell you, Scotty, it was jam-packed. We managed to jag it. We got in, didn't know really where to go, and we picked a spot, and it was basically right where the teams pulled up on the bus and got out. We were right there. So obviously when the Knights came off the bus, we wanted to go down to the stage. Good luck, mate. Honestly, you couldn't get within cooey of it. It was just jam-packed.
Yeah.
Mate, seriously, it was just party central. It was, as I said, completely underestimated how big that event was going to be.
And what do they do? Like, what do you get to experience? How do they, because they talk about this, you hear the players talk about the way that they get to connect with fans there in a way they don't usually get to do at a normal rugby league round or at Magic Round in Brisbane, like you've talked about. Do they parade past you? Do they get announced? Do you get to have that hand-to-hand contact? What's it like?
It's a bit of that. It's a bit of everything. So they've got like this, this American hype guy just talking the American lingo, getting the crowd pumped. They've got the music on. You obviously see the scenes with the, I don't know what you call that, massive screen that runs above the head. So they've got all the graphics and going. You've got people going by and zip lines and street performers and everything. It's just absolute bedlam. But it's just this massive culmination of everyone having a great time. Of the vibe and the hype. I love how the Americans do sport, and I think that was what made it really exciting. Was it was different to say what you would experience back home, in Australia. It's just those little differences. The Americans kind of add that taste and bit of flavour and hype on their sports.
Yeah.
That just got everyone absolutely wild, mate. It was, and being so close to the players, and you can honestly feel it, Scotty. It was different for them. Like they were having just as a good a time as us. It wasn't like, they were going through the motions of here's another, event or whatever. They were genuinely just as pumped. They got their cameras out. You could see it in their eyes. They're just getting off the bus and going, what the hell is this? So just the whole collective, mate, everyone.
Absolutely. And look, we get a whole lot of people watching this show, not just rugby league fans. So if you're not a rugby league fan, an NRL fan, just search for Greg Marju. On social media and have a look at what that dude, he's a winger for the Knights. He put on a show, didn't he? Like popping, dancing, backflips, the lot at Fremont Street. That would have really got the crowd going.
Oh, he summed up, mate. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. If there's any player that basically summed up that night in one, it's Greg Marzu, 100%. And, mate, the Yanks loved him. They loved him from Greg Marzu.
So good. Check that out. What was it like, though? So there was obviously a different feeling as a fan, and, we can see you're sitting there in the Knighted bar. You were one of the biggest Newcastle Knights fans around and probably one of the biggest rugby league fans that I know. But as a creator, what was the experience like in Vegas? Tell us a little bit about that and how that differed for you from a normal sporting event. I mean, a lot of Knights games you're watching and live streaming from the bar there, which is great for Knights fans to watch along with you, but you do get along to some Knights and rugby league games too. What was the experience like as a creator for you different in Vegas as opposed to games in Brisbane or Sydney or Newcastle?
Oh, Scotty, there was just so much to film. Honestly, it's a creator's paradise. You look up here and here's some people going around on a bloody roller coaster. You turn over here and here's the New York, or, the Excalibur. It's just everywhere you look, mate, there was a picture or a story to be told, and the characters going up and down the strip, whether it was the English fans chanting the whole weekend, some American rugby league supporters that I managed to find, got them in front of the camera too. Honestly, mate, there was so much to film. You
look like you were literally filming everywhere you went. I mean, you stayed in a hotel that looks like a bloody castle.
Yeah, I know, right? As I said, like it didn't matter where you were. Honestly, Scotty, you could pick any spot on the Vegas Strip, and it would be interesting, mate. It's just one of those places. Nothing's dull. Everything's just lit up. It's 11 out of 10. It's Larry. It's in your face, and it's just insane.
Yeah, and look, there is that festival and carnival feel, and I like that piece of content that you made where you were spotting every NRL jersey from across the competition. It wasn't just those 4 teams that were playing. I think you spotted a jersey from every club.
I got it. I was very surprised. I was thinking, I'll be very lucky if I get maybe 2/3 of them, but
because there's always that random South guy everywhere, right? Doesn't matter what game you go to or what city. There's always somebody wearing a South Sydney jersey, but you did get them all, which I was super impressed with.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I will say that the Titans one, he got in the last minute because I thought, the Titans, you can't even find a Titans support on the Gold Coast. Yeah, to get that box ticked, mate. No, that was good. It was good fun.
Well done. And it's not just you. You've got a content creation sort of team around you. And, of course, it's you and your wife, Lou. Lou was the engine room this time around. She wasn't with you. She was there in the Knighted bar trying to make sense of all the stuff you were filming and punching away. Tell us a little bit about, that dynamic, because I think it's quite fascinating. There'd be a lot of people that would have been shooting and creating on location, but you had this different setup where you were in Vegas and Lou was there in Queensland.
Yeah, so we came up with the system. We tried our best to sort of come up with an itinerary, but we kind of knew we don't like to be too rigid because obviously, when you go to a place like Vegas, you can get ideas that pop out of nowhere and you're just going to follow those. But essentially, all we would do was I would film certain events or content, create a folder in OneDrive, just start uploading all that stuff. And then I didn't want to really persuade what the content was. I kind of wanted Lou to digest it and kind of put it together herself as how she would kind of see it. She's far more better at the video editing stuff than I am. So it was a really good dynamic. And obviously being like the time differences, we wanted to make sure we release content at a reasonable hour back in Australia. I don't want to be cutting up content and dropping it. It's like midnight or 1 a.m, some weird time. So that dynamic worked really well. So
let me guess, you walked around with a beer in hand and a phone in the other, filming a bunch of stuff, upload it to the cloud, and then when you wake up in the morning, you've got amazing content there.
Exactly, mate. I get up with a hangover and I look over at my phone and go, "Oh, what happened last night? Oh, that's what happened." So yeah, no, it was a good 1-2 punch. I tell you what, it was a good way to remember maybe some of the events from last night that I didn't quite remember. But yeah, no, it was good, mate. She did a phenomenal job. Because people walk around thinking I was doing everything. I was like, mate, I'm not Superman. I'm not staying up all day, all night editing. I can't take all the credit. I'm the one out here fun and just pointing the camera in front of people, and Lou's the one chopping and editing and doing all the hard work in the back, mate. So,
Do you reckon people underestimate the amount of work that's involved in being a content creator?
oh, massively, Scotty. And look, I don't try to, talk about it to try
No.
and big promote myself or whatever, but no, it is. And I think people are slowly starting to get to realize how much work does actually go into, putting out content continually and coming up with new ideas and all that. It is a lot of work, but we love doing it, mate. And we were just glad. Our goal was to bring everyone that was at home, to make them feel like they were there in the room with us, to give them some idea, to give a taste of it, so maybe next year they'll want to come along for the ride.
Yeah, you did a bloody good job of it, mate. I congratulate you on that. But, just, I guess to follow on from that, you're not a full-time creator. You've got another full-time job. But, the NRL creator economy is becoming bigger, and it is becoming more important for the NRL. They invited a bunch of creators to go along, and there were others like yourself that went along too, and as part of the fan groups and really got involved. Now, from what you saw on the ground there, how important do you think creators are becoming to the success of leagues like the NRL and the AFL?
Oh, massive. Absolutely massive. Like, I had the pleasure of having the NRL reach out, get me down for the launch of the NRL 26 game. And I took the opportunity to ask them, so, how often am I going to get to sit in front of the suits in the NRL, inside NRL HQ, and ask some questions? So I was just blunt, and I just said, what's the plan? What's the vision moving forward? Obviously, you got us down here now, and they were up front. They were saying, look, we understand the value and the power and the influence you guys hold, and we want to bring you into the fold. We want to give you more and more opportunities, which was fantastic to hear. I know it's probably been a bit of a criticism the last few years is, we would love more access to certain things. But yeah, I think the NRL absolutely have identified that, this isn't going away. This phenomenon isn't going away. And I think it's as more and more people vicariously live on their phone, like they would probably spend more time staring at their screen on their phone than they do their TV. So that's probably giving you an idea. They're seeing, my mug maybe more so than they would see a lot of the pundits on Nine or Fox or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre phenomenon. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all, but it's an exciting time, mate, for sure.
And I agree, and I think it's something that clubs and leagues have to tap into. You think about how brands create ad campaigns and now more modern parlance, content and campaigns to influence the way people feel or what they buy. I mean, they go to ad agencies, and content creators, these are growing businesses, and they are like little engines. They're little ad agencies who can bring ideas into these organizations, into clubs, into leagues, and give different voices and different ways of saying the same thing, right? Because if they just run the same Tina Turner thing over and over and over, people are going to get sick of it. And I think the more that they reach to people like you and other content creators, Bloke in a Bar, Buy Around, there's, Roasty, there's so many. Plus, of course, every club has their own fan like yours that is building this creator business and content machine that fans are really engaging with. I think it can only be for the good. Where do you think it could go? Where do you think in the next few years could things go? I mean, I'm starting to see Bloke in a Bar's now on SEN. Your mate Russ, who's a Knights fan and a food content creator, now has launched his own energy drink. Where do you think this stuff can go over the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, sky's the limit, Scotty. We always say like Australia's probably about 10 or so years behind the US, and we see the power of what alternative media does. Just in sports alone, it's absolutely huge marketing. And you're right, it's tapping into a probably more the younger demographic.
Yeah.
But in saying that, though, I do get a lot of my listeners. They're certainly not in the younger demographic, and they absolutely love everything I do. They just eat it up, which is fantastic. You like to try to appeal to everyone. But yeah, it's exciting. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm hoping it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And as I said, look, our dream is like, you're saying for like Lou doesn't work full time. We made a decision where we're going all in. So we've made the sacrifice. We make enough so she doesn't need to work. So we're going to pour all her energy into getting this going. And obviously, mate, the dream would be this would be the full-time gig. I would love to wake up and have hours and hours of time and the resources to do so much. But obviously, when you're holding down a 9 to 5, it does make it difficult, but we still make it work. But yeah, going circling back, mate, it's just exciting. It's an incredibly exciting prospect to see where this space is and how not only us operating independently, but when you start collaborating different creators together, that's a totally different beast in itself.
And I know you've been doing a little bit of that over the course of the last sort of 6 or 12 months. And in Vegas, you kind of turbocharged that. I mean, there were a lot of fans on the ground. There were former players from the club. But I saw you with a lot of content creators as well from the other clubs. Some content creators are sort of across the league. Can you tell me a little bit about, who you collaborated with, who you saw, and what some of the moments were that really stood out for you?
Well, obviously, my boy Russ, we go way back. It's funny. We never, ever, ever get to catch up with one another. We're always, if I'm down here, he's somewhere else or vice versa. So the only time we really got to hang out is in bloody Vegas. We can't even do it in our own backyard.
Yeah.
So that was great. So hanging out with Russ, even though people confuse us all the time.
You do look similar. You just got the beard.
Yeah, I know, right? So I would get called Russ. He'd get called Link all the time. So, yeah, obviously with Russ, Kyle Hunter, if you're following him, does huge, massive travel vlogs and all that stuff, photography, absolute legend of a guy. Had the pleasure of meeting him, obviously massive Knight supporter as well. And shout out to Jude too from Just Mates, big young up and comers, but they're doing some great work with the Knights as well. So, mate, just a ragtag bunch of guys. We're just there to have a good time. And yeah, it's great to, when you sit down, come up with some ideas and start putting some collaboration together. We're still piecing together some footage from all of us to this day. We're going to be dropping some more content. So,
but do you think that's the future as well, though? So, you are an independent creator, you're doing your own thing, but working more with some of these other creators to kind of build ideas, different types of content?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I started doing it with the New South Wales Blues stream team because obviously it's a great chance in rugby league. We all have different rugby league teams, but come Origin time, we can put our differences aside and we all follow a blue team or a maroon team. So this year, I got a bunch of guys, Retro, Joel from League Adventures, Hainsey, these guys, big social media personalities. Well, we can all come under the one umbrella. We become the New South Wales Blue stream team.
Love it.
For 3 nights of a year, and people eat it up, mate. It's like seeing, your favorite superheroes. Now they're the Avengers. You know what I mean? Here they are all together for a long time. But yeah, no, I think you're right, mate. And we are starting to realize the power and collaboration. And it speaks volumes, honestly, Scotty, to how bloody good the rugby league content creator space is. Like all of us blokes, we all get along. We're all got each other's backs. A rising tide raises all ships, mate, and we're all here for it. So,
and look, I really like a lot of the legacy media, the Fox leagues, some of the shows that they do. They've been around a long time. They do a great job. But for me, some of the fan content, it just feels more authentic. It's not really the only agenda they have is for the love of the game or the love of their club. And when you know that, then you know the perspective they're coming from. I think a lot of the pundits and journalists have, they've got 3 or 4 jobs. They're a host of a NRL 360. They are a player agent. They are, running this, that, and the other. So you never necessarily ever really know where they're coming from. Where I think with independent content creators, you really do know where they stand. And often they just stand in the space of entertainment and fun and getting behind their team and their game, which I really like. Mate, just on Vegas, from a content creator perspective, what do you think the NRL really nailed? What did they do well in Vegas? And is there anything you think they could do better?
Oh, Scotty, mate, honestly, I don't know what more you could have done better. Like everywhere. You couldn't tell me there was rugby league everywhere. I honestly don't know what more Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo could do.
What about like for you as a creator? Do you think there could have been an opportunity for you to like apply to the NRL to get access as a creator and for them to have some opportunities for you, even if it's not like full access like the broadcasters? But do you think something like that could be of help in future years?
Absolutely. Yeah, look, I think they're going to get to that point. And I understand the trepidation too. Like, don't get me wrong, I do understand there is a certain inherent risk, I guess. Anything that's new is, what's this guy going to do? What's he going to say? Because he's not really, he's not held to any sort of large employer, whether it be a legacy media company. So I understand that. I guess there would be a vetting process, and you would like to think the longer we've been around, like I've been doing this for 6 years now, you'd like to build a bit of a reputation that you're not going to go rogue or go against the code of conduct, I guess, for lack of a better term.
That's something that they don't appreciate, yeah.
Yeah, so I understand that, but that would have been nice. That would have been cool if they said, look, all these crowds that are coming, if you want to come tour the stadium or do this and do that, a bit of trying, because ultimately our goal is to try and bring everyone who's not there with us.
Yeah.
We're there to sell the Vegas experience to everyone else. So if I can, convince 100 to 200 people to come next year, well, who's going to get the money? It's the bloody NRL. It's not
Absolutely.
mine. So it's in their best interest to do that 100%. But I guess the only thing, I guess, and it was very minor to say what could the NRL kind of do better was, I don't know how they do it, maybe with scheduling, is to try and keep the crowd within Allegiant Stadium.
Yep.
Which blew my mind, because I don't understand flying halfway across the world to go in this insane stadium. We haven't even talked about the stadium, Scotty. That is just a cherry on top to go inside that place. Why you wouldn't want to experience more of it? You've come this far, watch the games. Like, you want to watch the English game because that was just hectic, and watching those two supporter bases just going off like the English do.
Yeah.
But even our game, I was just eager to see some rugby league football. And how often are you going to go see it played at a premier stadium?
I assume you stayed for the Dragons Bulldogs game,
Absolutely.
which followed the Knights Cowboys.
Yeah, so I was a little surprised. I was honestly surprised that, so many vacated their seats. I don't know how they combat that. Maybe it's a scheduling thing, or maybe you can't. Maybe that's the way it is. But
I wondered, this, 3 games is a lot to sit through. I think 2 is great. But you kind of need the English fans and the English teams to come to really, I think, lift the overall experience, because it sounds like they added so much, and you don't want to lose that and just say, well, we're just doing the 2 NRL games, which was what was done in the first year. And I just think that having the English teams really adds so much, and you would never want to lose that. What about the pricing in the stadium? I mean, the cost of buying beers sounded extraordinary inside the stadium. I know everything's expensive in the US, and that is one thing that kind of goes against Vegas for the NRL, just the sheer cost of going to do it. Do you think maybe that might have been a factor, and people are then heading back out to go and have a drink or some food somewhere else?
Possibly. I will have it on good authority from Russ that by cents to the litre, it's actually still cheaper to buy a beer at Allegiant Stadium than it is Brookvale. So
is that right?
It is, yeah. They are expensive, but you get, mate, everything's bloody big in America. The cans are like this. They're bloody enormous. But yeah, look, everything is expensive there. I think I was paying, mate, honestly, it would have been close to about $12 odd Australian for a coffee.
Yeah, wow.
It's just, you're paying over $10 Australian for a bottle of water.
It's just the way it is. It is the way it is. You want to go to the US, you want to have an experience. It just is a fundamental reality of traveling there now. It's unfortunate, and the Aussie dollar has risen a little bit lately, but I think it's the inflation there has been huge in the last 5 years, and it is just a fact of traveling in the US. Anything else about Allegiant Stadium that stood out that would make you want to go back?
Air conditioning in a stadium, like, wow. It was just, it wasn't hot in Vegas. Like, it was nice temperature.
Yeah.
To walk back into a stadium and it be noticeably cooler. Like when you go from outside into a cool air conditioned car, it was like that. Weird.
Wow.
But mate, the Americans just nail everything sport. They really do. And it was honestly like Suncorp. I love Suncorp Stadium. All right. Suncorp Stadium is one of the premier, it's probably the best stadium to watch rugby league football in, but it was just something. Yeah. It's just everything's jacked up. Everything's big. And for the amount of people that was there, it wasn't congested anywhere. They seemed to be plenty of space. There wasn't too big a lineup for anywhere. You could move freely. To see all the Raiders, NFL stuff floating around was pretty hectic as well.
It sounds like just such a great experience if you are an NRL fan, or even if you're an Aussie sports fan, a Kiwi, England. You want to get along to this, and you want to get along and be a part of it. If the NRL does keep doing this, they've got 2 years to go in Vegas, and then they're starting to talk about London, perhaps Singapore or Tokyo, and whether it's in one single round or whether it ends up being, at different stages through the course of the season. What do you reckon this could look like in 5 or 10 years? And would you travel again, maybe to one of these other cities to see your team or another team play?
Oh, in a heartbeat, Scotty. I genuinely feel like it could become a real part of like the fabric of rugby league is going abroad the start of the year to go watch your team play. And you know what? Fortune favours the brave, and good on Peter Valenti. Mate, it's honestly, I was saying to this to Kerr Gidley, mate, honestly, when you were back in your playing days, 10 or so years ago, if someone was to say, mate, the Knights will be playing in Las Vegas for competition points, mate, as he said, you would have been thrown in a loony bin.
They would not have even imagined that. And I
Absolutely.
think it has gone from being this sort of weird idea and a thought bubble, I'm sure, into something that is a genuine event. It is now an experience that people want to go and have. And I think even if the US never cracked the US market, crack it and actually are making money from American fans or exposing Americans to the game, what they've done is created this incredible event to launch the season and for Aussie, English and Kiwi fans to go and be part of. And I think that's bigger than anything the AFL or cricket probably could ever do in this country. And it gives them this incredible place to launch the season from each year. So I think it will keep growing. And I reckon you will see London or Tokyo come in at some point. I can't let you go without talking about the biggest contract in rugby league history. Dylan Brown has moved from the Parramatta Eels to the Newcastle Knights for 10 years on a $13 million deal. People have said over the course of the last 12 months since it was signed that it was crazy, that it was stupid, that it was the dumbest money ever spent. And then at the end of last season, Dylan Brown goes and has an absolute blinder for New Zealand and then goes to Vegas, teams up with Kalen Ponga and with Fletcher Sharp for all of 25 minutes before he got injured. But there is something there. And I reckon as a Knights fan, you must be pretty excited about where this could go on, like I say, the biggest contract that we've ever seen in the game.
Oh, Scotty, mate, you're just getting me excited just you talking about it. Oh, I rewatched the game last night and just seeing the visions of Dylan Brown shifting the ball out wide to Kalen Ponga. Like, honestly, mate, and I asked this of any Knights supporter, when was the last time we honestly saw two big superstar players like this in our team? Like, I'm thinking you're going back 20 years, Scotty, truly. Like, we had the Mitchell Pearces and all that come to our club, but they were past their prime. They still added value to our club, and we needed them at the time. But now we got a guy like Kalen Ponga, Dally M caliber player. Dylan Brown, I keep saying, he's robbed of the golden boot. It is what it is there.
Elite international.
Oh, yeah. And then you got Fletcher Sharp. Like, honestly, I think Fletcher Sharp could honestly have won man of the match and played 25 minutes of that game. He was absolutely electric. There is so much to be excited about, and it's just the start. Like, these guys have played one game together. They've had one preseason together, and Kalen wasn't even a big part of that. He was still recovering from a Liz Frank, and, you still had Dylan Brown coming back from the Pac Championship, so he didn't get a lot of the preseason. So week on week on week, these combinations are just going to get silkier and silkier, and it astounds me how people possibly think we're going to be in spoon contention. Like, there should be points for days in this team.
I agree.
And I just can't wait. And I think Dylan Brown, with the arrival of two new clubs, these marquee signings, mate, are going to be so sought after, and we can sit back and go, you know what?
We've got one.
A marquee spine player for 10 years. And I guarantee that big price tag, might be paying up a little bit now, but in the later parts of that career, there's going to be a lot of players who are a lot less proven than Dylan Brown on more money. So, I think we'll look back in hindsight and go, you know what? The Knights did a pretty good deal at the time.
I agree. And, we'll be following the NRL's new broadcast deal, which comes up in 2027. It's likely they might do the deal before then. I know they're talking to international streaming platforms, local broadcasters. It could be the biggest sports broadcast deal in this country's history. Whatever happens, it will be a bigger deal than the one that they currently have, which was $2 billion over 5 years. And when that new deal comes in, you will see players' wages increase. The salary cap will go up, and Dylan Brown won't be the highest paid player in rugby league for very long. I can assure you of that. And it'll look like great money, like you said, come year 3, year 4, year 5. So you've landed yourself a pretty good player there, mate. And I know it's just round 1 at this point, but very exciting start to the season for your club, the Newcastle Knights. Sir Lincoln, thank you for joining me here on Moneyball. You can follow Lincoln on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Search for The Knighted, and you can watch his live streams, 3 times a week during the course of the year, mate?
Yeah, as much as 4, mate. Once the girls start running around, they get their own shows. So yeah, towards the end of the year, mate, we are busy. But yeah, so more often, yeah, about 3 times. But yeah, women kick in later July, mate. We're on 4 times a week.
So that's YouTube and Facebook, and killing it on all the other shorts platforms too, with some very fun and funny stuff, you and Lou, throughout the course of the season. So, mate, thanks for joining us on the show.
Appreciate it, Scotty. Thanks, mate.
Moneyball.
All right, that is it for Moneyball this week, and what a pleasure having Lincoln on this week to take us behind the scenes and see just what it was like in Las Vegas. I think it's still got some juice in it, and it is going to keep getting better and better, and you're going to see more from content creators just like him in the rugby league universe. Now, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. You can also follow the show on Instagram at Moneyball_show, and you can send questions in whenever you like too. If you want to know about the business of sport, or you've got ideas about who we should interview here, just email askmoneyball.show@gmail.com. Now remember, in modern sport, the big plays don't always happen on the field. This is Moneyball, about the game plan behind every big play. And until next time, follow the money.